Ethan had never seen a storm like this. The sky over the uncharted planet was a swirling mix of deep purple clouds and flashing silver lightning that cut through the darkness like sharp blades. His small starship shook violently, alarms blaring as the meteor storm pummeled the hull. Sweat ran down his forehead, and he gritted his teeth, gripping the controls with white-knuckled hands. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to retreat, but retreat wasn't an option. The storm had already trapped him deep in the planet's atmosphere. There was no way back. The ship shuddered violently again as a meteor smashed against the side, sparks flying. Ethan cursed under his breath and forced the ship into a steep dive, narrowly avoiding another collision. The ground was coming up fast. A rocky landscape dotted with strange crystalline structures that glowed faintly even in the storm. He had no choice but to land, though he had no idea what he would find once he did. The landing was rough. The ship skidded across jagged rocks, leaving a trail of sparks before finally crashing against the ground. Dust and smoke filled the cabin, and Ethan coughed, checking the controls. The ship was damaged but still functional enough to get him moving, though he would need serious repairs before leaving this planet. He glanced out at the storm, which had already started to calm, leaving behind an eerie, silent landscape bathed in violet light. Ethan stepped out of the ship, gripping a survival pack tightly. His eyes widened at the sight before him. The planet wasn't empty. In the distance, he could see a city, tall and elegant, with spires that shimmered like glass. But it was not the architecture that caught his attention, it was the chaos. Smoke and fire rose from buildings, and figures moved frantically among the streets. This was no ordinary planet. It was under attack. Without thinking, Ethan ran toward the city. His human curiosity always got the better of him. But this time, it was more than curiosity. There was a sense of urgency, a pull he could not ignore. As he got closer, he could see the attackers tall, armored creatures with sharp, glinting weapons. They moved with precision and cruelty, forcing citizens to flee. The defenders of the city were struggling, outnumbered and overwhelmed, and then he saw her. High above the chaos, trapped in a tower that had begun to collapse under the attack, was a young alien woman. Her armor shimmered silver and violet, and her long hair flowed like liquid metal in the wind. She was beautiful, but her expression was one of fear and determination. She was struggling against some kind of restraint, held by ropes of light that kept her suspended over the edge of the crumbling platform. Ethan's heart raced. He didn't know who she was, but instinct told him she was important. He could not leave her there. Without hesitation, he sprinted toward the tower, dodging falling debris and blasts from the attackers' energy weapons. Every step was dangerous, every breath heavy with the risk of being struck, but he moved faster than he thought possible, driven by something he couldn't explain. When he reached the tower, he took a moment to assess the situation. The ropes of light weren't ordinary, they pulsed with energy and tightened whenever she moved. Ethan had never seen anything like them, but he didn't have time to analyze. He grabbed a piece of jagged metal from the wreckage nearby and used it to hook and cut the ropes, trying to free her. Sparks flew, and the energy ropes recoiled, but he managed to sever them one by one. The princess fell into his arms, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. She looked at him with wide, alarmed eyes, and he realized just how close they were to death. The tower groaned, threatening to collapse entirely, and Ethan knew they had only seconds. With all his strength, he hoisted her and ran, leaping over gaps in the debris and dodging falling chunks of metal. Behind them, the attackers noticed the movement. One of them raised a weapon and fired a beam of red light straight at Ethan. He dove to the side, the energy beam missing him by inches and scorching the ground. He rolled, clutched the princess tighter, and continued running toward the edge of the city. The defenders, though few, began to notice him and provided a brief distraction, giving Ethan the opening he needed to escape. Finally, they reached a safer area, away from the direct line of fire. Ethan set the princess down gently. She looked at him, panting and exhausted, and for a moment, he thought she would thank him, but instead, her eyes narrowed slightly, and she stepped back. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice firm but edged with caution. "Why would you risk your life for me?" Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. I didn't think. I just knew I had to help," he said honestly. "You were in danger. I couldn't leave you there." The princess studied him, her gaze piercing. Ethan felt the weight of it, as if she could see right through him. "You are human," she said finally, almost to herself. "Rare and reckless. Most humans would not have the courage or the foolishness to do what you just did." Ethan shrugged, unsure how to respond. "Maybe. But I didn't think about that. I only thought about saving you." There was a long silence. Then, without warning, her expression hardened. "Guards!" she shouted, and a group of her elite protectors appeared, weapons raised. Ethan froze, confused. "Secure him," she said. "Do not let him go." "What?" Ethan asked, stepping back. "I just saved you. Why are you doing this?" The princess didn't answer. She only gave a faint nod to her guards. Before Ethan could react, they surrounded him, energy restraints snapping into place around his wrists and ankles. He struggled, but the restraints held him fast. "You don't understand," the princess said finally, her tone calm but cold. "You may have saved me, but your presence here is dangerous. My world, my people, they cannot afford mistakes. Not even from someone trying to help." Ethan's mind raced. He couldn't understand her logic. He had saved her life, wasn't that what mattered? But the princess didn't seem grateful. Instead, she looked distant, almost sorrowful, as if this action, this imprisonment, was necessary. As they led him to a containment area, Ethan's mind wandered to the storm outside, the attackers, the chaos of the city. He realized that this planet was far more dangerous and complicated than he had imagined. And the princess, she was far more mysterious than he could have guessed. Inside the containment chamber, Ethan found himself in a high-tech cell unlike anything he had seen. The walls shimmered with energy fields, and strange symbols pulsed faintly across the surface. He tested the restraints, finding them unbreakable, and sat down on the cold floor, trying to catch his breath. The princess appeared once more, standing outside the barrier. "I am Liara," she said, her voice softer now. "You may call me princess if you wish, but understand this saving me does not make you free." "Not yet," Ethan stared at her, disbelief and frustration mixing with curiosity. "Then, why? Why save me? Why risk your life? If you were just going to lock me up?" Liara looked at him, her violet eyes filled with something he couldn't quite read. Regret, perhaps, or a heavy burden of responsibility. "There are rules in my kingdom," she said finally. "Rules that even I cannot break. You saved me, yes, but trust must be tested, loyalty must be proven. Only then can freedom be earned." Ethan leaned back against the wall, exhaustion weighing on him. He had no choice but to wait, to survive, and to understand this strange new world. And as he watched the princess walk away, surrounded by her guards, he realized something. This was only the beginning. He had saved the alien princess, but the real challenge was just starting. How would he survive in a world where being a hero could also make him a prisoner? And more importantly, could he earn the trust of someone whose entire life was defined by rules he didn't yet understand? As night fell over the city, Ethan lay on the cold floor, staring at the shimmering energy of the containment field. Outside, the sounds of distant conflict echoed through the streets, and he knew that danger was far from over. Somewhere, hidden in the chaos, enemies were planning, watching, waiting. And in the heart of it all was Liara, the princess he had saved, yet who had locked him away. Ethan closed his eyes, trying to find a calm center within himself. One thing was certain. He would not give up. He didn't yet know why he felt so connected to this mysterious princess, or why he was determined to see her safe. But something deep inside him had shifted. Humans had a way of surviving, of adapting, of finding solutions where none seemed possible. And if anyone could navigate this alien world and earn the trust of a princess who didn't yet trust him, it was him. Outside the chamber, Liara watched him. Silent. Her expression unreadable. Somewhere in her mind, she weighed the risk of letting a human so close to her heart and her throne. She did not yet know if he would succeed or fail, but she could sense something in him, a spark of courage and ingenuity that was rare among those who came from other worlds. Perhaps, just perhaps, this human was different. The storm had passed, but the real storm of intrigue, danger, and unexpected bonds was just beginning. The cell was cold and silent, except for the faint hum of the energy field surrounding Ethan. He had spent the first hours pacing and trying to test the restraints, but they were impossible to break. He had no weapons, no tools, and no idea how long he would be kept here. The realization settled over him like a heavy weight. He had saved a life, yet that life's owner had imprisoned him. Ethan sat against the smooth wall, rubbing his wrists where the restraints had left marks. He could hear distant voices outside the chamber, the footsteps of guards patrolling the corridor, and the occasional hum of machines far beyond. He wondered what kind of place this was, what kind of world he had stumbled upon, and why the princess had chosen to save him, only to lock him away. Every answer seemed more confusing than the last. Time passed slowly, and Ethan began observing the people who came near the chamber. The guards were tall, disciplined, and moved with precision. Their armor shimmered faintly, unlike anything he had seen on Earth, and their expressions were unreadable. They didn't speak to him unless commanded, and even then, they said little. But Ethan noticed patterns in their movements, slight hesitations, or quick glances they didn't think he would see. His human mind began piecing together clues. This world had rules, strict and rigid. But even in the rigidity, there were small openings, small weaknesses that could be understood if one paid attention. Liara appeared several times each day. Every time, she stood outside the energy barrier, her posture straight and controlled, her expression guarded. She didn't speak much at first, only observing him, her violet eyes sharp and calculating. Ethan felt like she was measuring him, testing him silently. Her presence was both intimidating and strangely comforting. He couldn't explain it, but there was something in her gaze that made him trust her, even though she had locked him away. One day, when the guards left after their rounds, Ethan called out, "Why are you doing this? I saved you. You should be grateful." Liara tilted her head slightly, her long hair catching the light. "Gratitude is not enough here," she said calmly. "Saving me was brave, yes. But bravery alone does not determine loyalty. Anyone can be brave for the wrong reasons. Anyone can appear to help while hiding other motives. My people, we cannot afford such mistakes." Ethan frowned. "So, you think I'm dangerous? I saved your life. I'm not here to hurt you." She gave a small, almost imperceptible sigh. "It is not that I think you are dangerous. It is that the consequences of misplaced trust could be disastrous. Even someone with good intentions can cause harm if they do not understand our ways. I must test you." "Test him?" Ethan blinked, trying to understand. "Test me? How? By locking me up?" Liara did not answer immediately. She only looked at him, as if weighing how much truth to give. "Our world has enemies within and without," she said finally. "Those closest to me sometimes betray me. There have been instances where those who rescued a member of the royal family were not friends, but spies, sent to weaken our defenses. I cannot risk that. Not even for you." Ethan rubbed his forehead. "So, I'm supposed to just sit here and wait, while you decide if I'm trustworthy?" "You are not just waiting," Liara said, her voice softening slightly. "You are observing. You are learning. You are proving yourself without knowing it. Courage alone is not enough, Ethan. Understanding, patience, and the ability to act wisely under pressure are what matter here." Ethan thought about her words, He had always been brave, yes, but he had also relied on instinct and luck. In this world, instinct might not be enough. He realized he had to learn fast if he wanted any chance of surviving and of gaining Liara's trust. Over the next few days, he paid attention to everything. The guards' routines, the way the corridors were laid out, the subtle shifts in energy within the cell that hinted at hidden mechanisms. He discovered that certain parts of the energy field weakened slightly at intervals, though not enough to escape yet. He noted how the guards spoke to each other in quiet tones, using words he didn't understand, but with gestures that were meaningful. Slowly, he began to piece together a picture of Liara's world. A world of strict hierarchy, hidden dangers, and constant vigilance. Liara began speaking to him more, though cautiously. "You must understand," she said one evening, her voice carrying through the energy field. "My life is not just my own. My people depend on me. Every decision I make can protect or destroy thousands. That is why I cannot act impulsively, even in gratitude." Ethan listened carefully. "So, you're saying this imprisonment is your way of protecting them and me?" She nodded slightly. "Yes. It may seem harsh from your perspective, but it is necessary. If I released you without understanding your intentions and abilities, I could put both our worlds at risk. You must earn my trust, as I must earn yours." Ethan leaned back against the wall, thinking. It was difficult, frustrating, and sometimes terrifying. But there was logic in her words. He had to be patient, observe, and learn. And more than anything, he had to survive in this strange alien environment where every action had consequences he did not yet understand. One night, as the alien city slept under the glow of the twin moons, Ethan noticed a disturbance outside his cell. Shadows moved quickly, and faint sounds of whispers reached him. He strained to see through the shimmering energy field. A group of figures was approaching Liara's chambers, figures dressed similarly to the guards but moving with stealth and precision. Something felt wrong. Ethan's heart raced. He had no weapons, no way to intervene directly, but he remembered every detail he had observed about the guards' routines and the layout of the corridors. He tried to alert Liara. "Princess, there's something happening outside," he shouted. Liara appeared moments later, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the hallway. "Yes," she said quietly. "I see it. Thank you for your warning." Ethan felt a flicker of relief. Even in imprisonment, his observations were valuable. He realized then that he was not powerless. Even in the cell, he could make a difference if he remained alert and clever. The next day, Liara spoke more openly than before. "I have seen your efforts, Ethan. You pay attention. You think. You act when possible. These are qualities my people respect, but you must understand the danger you are in. My world has traitors everywhere, some who smile with loyalty, others who wait for the right moment to strike." Ethan nodded. "I understand. But if there are traitors, shouldn't I help you stop them?" Saying. Liara studied him, her expression unreadable. "Perhaps. But the timing must be right. Acting too soon could make things worse. Patience is as valuable as courage here. And courage alone will not save you or me if the wrong person acts against us." As days passed, Ethan continued to learn more about the alien culture. The city outside was recovering from the attack, but there was tension in the air. People moved cautiously, whispers spread quickly, and the sense of vigilance was constant. Ethan observed how citizens interacted with the royal guards, how the guards reported to Liara, and how small gestures and words could carry hidden meanings. Every detail was a lesson. Liara also began to show moments of trust. She allowed him small freedoms within the cell, letting him move and examine objects that were harmless but familiar. She asked questions about Earth, about humans, and about his life, testing his honesty and perspective. Ethan spoke openly, realizing that his transparency might be one of the keys to gaining her trust. One evening, the princess leaned close to the energy barrier, her face serious. "Ethan, I must warn you. There are those among my advisors who would betray me for power. They plan in shadows, waiting for weakness. You may not understand everything yet, but you must be aware. Danger is closer than you think. Ethan felt a surge of resolve. Then tell me what I can do, he said. Even here, I want to help. I don't care if I'm imprisoned, I want to protect you, Princess. Liara's eyes softened slightly, though her expression remained guarded. You may be more valuable than you realize, she said, even in confinement. Your actions, your observations, and your courage can make a difference. Remember this. Loyalty is proven in deeds, not words. If you are to help me, you must act wisely, carefully, and always with thought. Patience will be your greatest weapon. Ethan sat back, thinking about her words. He realized that this was no ordinary rescue. He had been brought here for a reason, though he didn't yet understand the full purpose. Liara's test was not just about trust. It was about survival, strategy, and insight. And somehow, he knew that the bond forming between them, fragile and cautious though it was, would be important in the trials to come. Outside the cell, the city continued its quiet recovery, but shadows lingered, and the whispers of betrayal remained. Ethan understood that he had stepped into a complex world, one where human ingenuity and courage would be tested like never before, and he was determined to rise to the challenge, to learn, and to prove that even a human could stand as an ally, friend, and protector in a world far beyond his own. As night fell again, Ethan lay on the cold floor, eyes open, mind racing. He would not waste this time. He would observe, learn, and prepare, and one day, when the moment was right, he would show Princess Liara that her trust, though earned through harsh means, was not misplaced. For the first time, Ethan felt a strange sense of purpose. He had been imprisoned. Yes, but he was not defeated. The real challenge had only just begun, and he was ready. Ethan had been in the cell for what felt like days, though he had lost track of time. Each day blurred into the next, with small observations, brief conversations with Liara, and the constant hum of the energy field as his only companion. Yet, something had shifted. He no longer felt like a prisoner entirely. He had begun to understand the rhythms of Liara's world, the careful discipline of her guards, and the subtle signals that hinted at hidden dangers. One morning, Liara appeared at her usual time, but there was a difference in her expression. The careful distance she always maintained was replaced by a flicker of urgency, her violet eyes sharper than ever. "Ethan," she said, "there is something you need to know. Something that cannot wait." Ethan straightened, gripping the edge of the energy barrier. "What is it? What's happening?" Liara took a deep breath. "There are those in my council, those I trusted, who are planning against me. They intend to seize power, to overthrow my rule. Their plan is subtle, hidden in layers of loyalty and obedience, but they are dangerous, and their reach extends far beyond what most realize." Ethan's heart raced. "You mean, some of your own advisors are traitors?" "Yes," Liara said quietly. "They smile with loyalty, but their intentions are deadly. They plan to assassinate me during the upcoming ceremony. They will use their positions to manipulate events, and if they succeed, they will plunge my world into chaos." Ethan's mind worked rapidly. He had always dealt with enemies who were obvious and direct, but this was a different kind of danger, hidden, cunning, and close to the heart of the kingdom. "Then, what can I do?" he asked. "I'm stuck here. I can't even leave this cell." Liara's expression softened slightly, though her eyes remained intense. "Even in confinement, you can help. You notice things others overlook. You think in ways that my people, who are bound by tradition, often do not. If you watch, observe, and report carefully, you may prevent disaster." Ethan nodded. He understood now that his role was not only to survive but to actively protect Liara, even from within the prison. He had to become her eyes and ears, anticipating threats, and piecing together the truth. Over the next few days, Ethan focused intently on what he could observe. He studied the guards' routines more closely, noticed unusual exchanges between the council members and certain guards, and paid attention to the timing of messages sent within the city. Each detail seemed small on its own, but gradually a pattern began to emerge. He realized that some of the advisors were coordinating with outsiders, rogue factions who had attacked the city before. Their goal was not just to challenge Liara but to destabilize the entire kingdom. One evening, as the twin moons cast pale light across the city, Liara returned to the cell. She seemed troubled, pacing slightly before speaking. "I've been considering the risks you now face, Ethan. Your presence here, while helpful, also makes you a target. These traitors may attempt to discredit you or use your actions against me. You must be careful." Ethan nodded solemnly. "I understand. But I can't just sit here and do nothing. I need to act, even if it's small steps. Every little observation, every subtle move could make a difference." Liara's eyes softened. "You have more courage and insight than I expected. That is why I permitted you to remain near me, even in restraint. But be aware, the closer you are to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. Some things are hidden in plain sight, and mistakes can be fatal." The following days were a delicate dance of observation and communication. Ethan began noting inconsistencies in the council's actions, small contradictions in reports, and subtle gestures among the guards. He reported what he could to Liara during her visits, careful not to reveal too much at once. She listened carefully, asking precise questions, and together, they began piecing together the outlines of the conspiracy. One night, Ethan noticed an unusual pattern in the city's security patrols. A certain corridor, normally patrolled regularly, was left empty at precise intervals. He called Liara immediately. "Princess, the corridor near the council chambers is empty for short periods. It happens every night. I think someone is using it to move unseen." Liara's eyes narrowed. "That is exactly the path they would use." "Well done, Ethan. Your observation may prevent their plan from moving forward unnoticed." Ethan felt a surge of purpose. For the first time, he realized that his imprisonment was not total powerlessness. It was a position that allowed him to think, analyze, and act strategically. Even from within his cell, he could make a difference. Liara began sharing more of the inner workings of her kingdom, explaining the stakes in ways Ethan could understand. He learned that her people had advanced technology, but their society was rigidly structured, which made them vulnerable to subtle manipulation. Loyalty was valued above all else, but that loyalty could be twisted by those who understood the rules better than the rest. Ethan also began to notice the complexity of Liara herself. She was not only a ruler but a guardian of her people. Her strength was remarkable, yet there was a quiet vulnerability she rarely showed. He began to understand why she had tested him with imprisonment. It was not cruelty, but caution. She had to protect everyone, including him, until she could be certain of his intentions and abilities. One evening, as the stars shimmered above the alien city, Liara spoke more openly than before. "Ethan, I will explain why I imprisoned you. In my world, anyone who intervenes in the affairs of the royal family, even with good intentions, must be tested. Our enemies sometimes disguise themselves as helpers. They try to earn trust only to betray it. My people have learned that caution is survival." Ethan listened intently. "So, locking me up was a test?" "Yes," she said softly. "A way to see your true character. Your courage, patience, and insight are rare. Many would have acted recklessly or given up. You have shown all the qualities needed to be a true ally." Ethan felt a mixture of relief and determination. He had been right to trust himself, and he had been right to act carefully. But the danger was far from over. The traitors were still out there, and their plan could unfold at any moment. Liara continued, her tone serious. "There is another reason I have kept you close. Your perspective, your human perspective, offers insights my people often miss. You think differently, act differently, and notice what others overlook. That is why I need you, even if your presence is unconventional." Ethan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He was not just a prisoner. He was now an essential part of the strategy to protect the princess and the kingdom. Every observation, every suggestion, could alter the outcome of events that were about to unfold. Days later, Ethan witnessed the first direct attempt of sabotage. He noticed a small group of council members sneaking toward a storage area containing energy weapons. They moved cautiously, but Ethan had memorized the patrol schedule and could see their actions clearly. He called to Liara as quietly as possible. "Princess, they're going toward the armory. Something is wrong. They shouldn't be there." Liara's eyes narrowed. "I see it. Thank you for alerting me. This confirms our suspicions. We must act carefully, but decisively." Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline. He had finally found a way to contribute, even from inside the cell. Using subtle signals and observations, he guided Liara and her loyal guards to intercept the saboteurs without revealing his position. The plan worked perfectly. The traitors were caught, and their plot to steal weapons was foiled. For the first time, Ethan realized the full importance of his role. Even confined, even tested, he had become a vital part of Liara's defense. His observations, patience, and human ingenuity had made a tangible difference. He understood that this was more than a test, it was an opportunity to prove that humans could be clever, brave, and indispensable allies. Even in worlds far beyond their own. Liara approached him after the incident, her expression softer than ever. "Ethan, you have done well. You have proven your value, not only to me but to my kingdom. I see now that you are more than a human visitor, you are a true ally." Ethan felt a rare smile cross his face. "Thank you, Princess. I just want to help. I don't care if I'm still in this cell. I will do whatever I can." Liara nodded. "And that is why you are here. Trust is earned not by words, but by deeds. You have begun to earn mine. But be aware the challenges are far from over. The traitors we caught were only a part of the larger conspiracy. There are others, waiting, watching, planning." Ethan leaned back, determination settling deep within him. He had faced danger before, but this was different. This was a world where loyalty was tested constantly, where subtlety mattered more than brute strength, and where every action could change the course of events. And yet, he felt ready. He would observe, learn, and act. He would prove to Liara, and to himself, that humans could rise to challenges no matter how alien the world, how complex the threat, or how high the stakes. As night fell again over the alien city, Ethan sat quietly on the floor of his cell, mind alert and ready. Outside, shadows moved, whispers of conspiracy lingered, and danger was never far away. But he knew something important. He was no longer just a prisoner. He was a participant in the unfolding story, a partner in the defense of the princess, and perhaps the key to survival in a world that was as beautiful as it was perilous. And for the first time, he understood something vital about Liara. Her imprisonment had not been punishment. It had been preparation. And now, more than ever, he was ready to face what came next. Ethan had been confined for days, but now he felt more like a participant than a prisoner. Each observation he had made, every small insight, had led to this moment. The traitors in Liara's council had grown bolder, but thanks to his warnings and careful analysis, the princess and her loyal guards were prepared. Tonight would decide everything. The city was quiet, though tension crackled in the air like static electricity. The twin moons reflected off the crystal towers, casting long shadows through the streets. Ethan watched from his cell as Liara moved with confidence, no longer just a ruler, but a commander, ready to confront betrayal head-on. Her violet eyes were sharp, determined, and her presence radiated authority. "Are you ready?" she asked quietly through the energy barrier. Ethan nodded. I've seen everything. I know the guards' movements, the council's patterns. I can help you anticipate their moves. Liara studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded. Good. Your observations have been invaluable. But tonight, we act. There is no room for hesitation. The plan was risky. The traitors had gathered in the council chambers under the pretense of discussing city security, but Ethan had noticed their unusual behavior. The secret signals they exchanged. Liara's loyal guards would surround the chamber from all sides, while Ethan, still in his cell, would direct the movements subtly, ensuring that no chance for escape or sabotage went unnoticed. As night deepened, Ethan focused on every detail. The footsteps, the lighting, the timing of energy locks, and even the slight pauses in conversation. All would be important. He realized how much trust Liara had placed in him, despite his imprisonment. His human ingenuity and careful observation were now critical to the safety of the princess and the city. The traitors arrived at the chamber, unaware that every move was being monitored. Ethan noticed a subtle gesture from one of them, a signal that someone outside would try to disable the city's defenses. He relayed the information to Liara through the quiet pulses of the energy barrier, which she had learned to interpret. Within moments, the loyal guards moved into position, unseen and ready. Suddenly, the first of the conspirators attempted to reach the armory. Ethan's heart raced as he watched through the shimmering energy walls. He directed Liara with subtle hand movements, signaling which guards should intercept without revealing their full positions. The first attempt failed. The saboteur was captured quickly, struggling against the guard's firm grip. Good, Liara whispered, almost to herself. Keep watching. There is more. The next wave of traitors moved toward the central chamber, where the Royal Council normally met. They intended to ambush Liara during a discussion, using the guise of diplomacy to get close. Ethan tracked their movements, noting slight delays, hesitations, and inconsistencies. Each observation allowed Liara to position her loyalists perfectly. When the conspirators finally reached the chamber, they found themselves surrounded. Liara stepped forward, her authority undeniable, and addressed them calmly but firmly. Your betrayal ends tonight, she said. You underestimated both your people's loyalty and the human you doubted. Ethan felt a rush of pride. He had not fought directly, yet his role had been crucial. His observations, patience, and insight had allowed Liara to confront the traitors safely and decisively. Even from the cell, he had made a difference. The conspirators tried to resist, but the loyal guards moved with precision, cutting off every escape route. Liara's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. Surrender, or face the consequences. Your actions have endangered my kingdom, and there will be justice. One of the traitors attempted a desperate strike toward Liara, but Ethan noticed the movement and signaled quickly. Liara anticipated the attack, sidestepping and allowing the loyal guards to apprehend the aggressor. The confrontation was tense, filled with swift movements, energy weapons sparking, and shouts echoing through the council chamber. But in the end, every traitor was captured, their plot foiled completely. Liara turned to Ethan, her expression softer now, a faint smile touching her lips. You have done well. Even in confinement, your mind and courage have helped save my life and my city. I see now that your actions were not reckless, but necessary. Ethan exhaled, relief flooding through him. I'm just glad I could help. I wasn't sure if I could do anything from here. You underestimated yourself, Liara said. Your human perspective, your observation, and your patience were exactly what was needed. Sometimes, it is not strength alone, but insight and courage combined that make the difference. The energy restraints around Ethan began to fade as Liara deactivated them with a gesture. He rubbed his wrists, feeling the freedom and the weight of the moment. He stepped forward, finally standing beside the princess not as a prisoner, but as a trusted ally. I owe you my life, Liara said, her voice quiet but sincere. I imprisoned you, not out of mistrust, but necessity. In my world, appearances can deceive, and even those who save lives can be enemies. I had to be sure of your intentions and your character. Ethan nodded, understanding fully now. I get it. It wasn't betrayal. It was protection for you and your people. Liara's gaze softened, and she reached out, a rare gesture of trust. Yes. And you passed the test. Your courage, wisdom, and patience have earned my trust completely. From this moment, you are more than a visitor. You are a true friend and ally. Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had entered this world as a stranger, imprisoned and isolated, yet he had proven himself. He had saved the princess once, observed and acted wisely, and now stood beside her as an equal in purpose. The lessons of patience, observation, and careful action had transformed him from a rescuer into a hero of this alien world. The city slowly returned to normal, but the echoes of the conspiracy lingered. Ethan continued to work alongside Liara, helping to rebuild defenses and reinforce loyalty among the citizens. The bond between human and princess grew stronger, built on trust, respect, and shared experience. The people of the city came to see Ethan not only as a hero, but as a symbol of human ingenuity and courage, proof that even outsiders could make a difference in their world. One evening, as they overlooked the city from the highest tower, Ethan spoke quietly. I never thought I'd be part of something like this. A human, in an alien world, helping a princess save her kingdom. It feels unreal. Liara smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the twin moons. Sometimes, the most unexpected allies are the most valuable. You have proven that courage, insight, and loyalty are not limited to one species. You are proof that humans can rise to challenges far beyond their own world. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had started this journey as a rescuer, acting on instinct and bravery. He had been imprisoned, tested, and observed, yet through patience, courage, and cleverness, he had earned trust, prevented disaster, and forged a lasting bond with the princess. Liara looked at him, her gaze steady. Ethan, you have changed my world, but you have also changed my perspective. Trust and courage are powerful, and your actions have shown my people and me that even the most unexpected beings can become heroes. Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. Then, I guess this is just the beginning, he said. Yes, Liara replied, her tone firm but gentle. The beginning of a partnership, a bond, and a friendship that will endure challenges yet unseen. Together, we will face whatever comes next, stronger than before. As they stood together, looking out over the city, Ethan realized that the storm had not only tested him, it had transformed him. He had discovered the power of patience, the value of observation, and the strength of trust. And in the alien world of Princess Liara, he had found a place where his courage and insight mattered, where a human could make a difference, and where friendship could bridge even the widest gaps between worlds. The city shimmered below them, the threat of betrayal, a memory, and the promise of the future shining bright. Ethan knew that he had not only saved a princess, he had earned a place in her world. A role as protector, ally, and friend. And more than anything, he knew that humans, with their courage, ingenuity, and heart, could rise to any challenge, no matter how alien or impossible it seemed. For the first time since landing on the storm-tossed planet, Ethan felt truly at home, not because he had conquered a challenge, but because he had proven that even in a world filled with danger, rules, and uncertainty, humanity's best qualities could shine through. Liara placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of both trust and partnership. Ethan, we will face more trials, but I know one thing for certain. You are ready. You have proven that courage, loyalty, and insight can overcome even the greatest challenges. Ethan looked at the princess, a sense of quiet pride and purpose filling him. Then let's face them together, he said. And as the twin moons bathed the city in soft light, human and princess stood side by side, ready for whatever the future held. bound not by obligation, but by trust, courage, and an unspoken understanding that some alliances once forged could never be broken.